Good day, this is Vikram Sareen here, and I'm going to present to you our product, which is what we call it as AxiomProtect 2.0. Axiom is essential and protection is something which we all have to look at. It's essentially disruptive in a nature, which I'll explain you later how it's disrupting, the whole paradigm shift of, looking at security or cyber security and then reinventing it. So in essence, what we say is that AxiomProtect should be enabling future with innovation and reimagining application security. Focus is on applications. That also, I think, once you go through the presentation, you'll understand that how and why we are looking more at the applications part. So in terms of purpose, it's to empower your multiple IT systems, which could be either on-prem or cloud or hybrid, by embedding multi-factor, or I would say continuous authentication or security for your each individual system or service or workflow or user preference. Now, this is very, very important. So when you look at it, you'll see why we are looking at each individual system or service and workflow, because it's different. We all are humans, but we all are different. So systems would be same, because they are IT systems, they are cyber systems, but they are different. There is similarity, and that is the similarity we need to address. We cannot just enforce one type of security for everything. So in essence, what the purpose is, empower applications, it's securing users, reduce cost, and increase ROI. I think cybersecurity has been kept always at a high premium, but today I think it can become more affordable and more available, with the new business models that can be thought of. And that's what Axiom brings to you. Now, obviously, it's a war between the hackers and us. So when I say you, meaning, you are the one who's, looking at the solution and how we are able to beat it. So it could be from a careless, worker, who likes to, keep the same password, or it could be an insider who's being planted. It could be an unhappy employee. People sometimes change over time, and then it could be some malicious insider, or a rogue employee which is being, planted or, has been got corrupted. Or it could be third-party users, which essentially are your vendors or your suppliers who are using the systems that you have offered. But because of the nature of work, they might have, information. Even though you have put, SLA on the company, on the company you're outsourcing, but you still might have, their users who have the access to that data. Then how do you handle that? And a very simple depiction of if I'm a user or a victim in this case, obviously the original collection in the true world is, straight to your web application or your web systems. But then obviously there are attacks like man in the middle, which can siphon off. So if you really look at it, hackers have found applications as a much easier target than going towards network. Now, how it started was that whole TCP/IP stack is essentially a trust-based stack. If you say I'm Google, any dumb computer will say, oh, okay, you're Google. So it does not really mutually authenticate or authorize each other that, hey, are you really Google? So obviously that's where it started, and because of that, it has kind of spinned out into this giant, enormous network, which essentially is vulnerable. So that's where it started. But now you have good IDS, IPS, firewalls, WAF, application firewalls or web application firewalls who are able to address certain aspects of traffic that is coming in. So a typical DOS attack would be mitigated, but a smart DDoS attack might not be. So what hackers are doing is that they are looking at phishing, man in the middle, DNS poisoning, sniffing, brute force, password spraying, fake applications for browsers and mobile, SIM cloning, IP MAC spoofing. All these are there, which they are still able to attack. Apart from all this is what is happening. So if you have a bad user, he can give away a lot of information. But at the same time, if you have hackers who's coming from outside, you still might be able to attack the system. So obviously, we have to put needed security at application level, which will make sure that all these hackers don't attack you, they go away. It's very similar to how we handle our office and house security, physical security. We also need to look at, I would say, data security or digital security. So hackers hate when you bring encryption. They hate when you bring mutual authentication. They hate when you bring active and passive authentication. They hate it when you have smart filters which are using AI and look at large amount of connections and data coming in, and then see that what exactly fraudulent or bad is going on. So they hate a dynamic multi-factor authentication kind of setup where sometimes push is coming, sometimes OTP is coming, sometimes voice is popping up, or you're looking at an image, all these kind of things. And they hate when you bring in multi-factor for VPN, especially for all these people, if they're given VPN, you bring second factor over there. And then obviously they hate when you bring single sign-on, because when you bring single sign-on, you're eliminating multiple passwords. So that whole spraying or sniffing, becomes useless, because now you can fortify your security to much higher grade. So I think they hate when you get more security aware and more and bring more security at application level, because that's where they are attacking the most right now, and that's where you need to look at the security. Now, in the world of cybersecurity, we break it down into these steps, what you see in front of you. The first is most important, which goes very hand in hand with the second, which is identity and authentication. So in digital world, we say, okay, hey, I want to identify myself, that this is me, but at the same time, how do I prove myself? So onboarding and multi-factor become essentially very, very important. Then obviously authorization, like, yes, we know that this is who you are, but what does your role authorize you to do? Can you access certain resources, or do you allow certain resources to be accessed? And what can you do when you come inside? Can you add, can you delete, can you remove, can you manage, all those kind of things. So that's based on your role, and that's where the single sign-on and role-based authentication has to kick in. Accounting. So if you're implementing, let's say, for example, an ISP says, okay, I want to bring more security or give VPNs to my corporate clients, and I want to build them on a certain way, or I want to look at their trends, I have to have some compliance. All those kind of things actually come under accounting, where you need to have a good system that is able to give you the needed reports and insights so that you can manage the accounting part. And along with accounting goes audit. If something goes wrong, then you need to prove that this is what, the right, kind of security you had put in place. And you can also say that, hey, user, this is what you did. Now, it might be a good user, bad user. We are not judging it over here, but we need to have enough audit trail to prove that it was done, with all authority, with all authorization and authentication. And most of the regulators, when you look at, from payments to banking to health, they bring, I would say, audit as a very important aspect, from 3 to 5 years to 15 years kind of, audit trail that you have to store. So even if something happens in the past, you still are able to kind of bring back and say that, yes, this is it. So any system that is being looked upon for as a identity management product or a solution that you want to use, you need to bring this in. Now, it can be on-prem, it can be on the cloud, it can have multiple applications, single, doesn't matter. But these are the fundamental things which you have to look upon. So it's a very complex secret that you would look into, but it needs to solve all these different elements to give you the needed solution. And the last one is non-repudiation. Now, if your workflow and your application demands a user to authorize, and you have given the authorization and authentication, multi-factor, SSO, and all that stuff is there, but the user says, I did not do it. Now, that puts the whole system in a full toss, because how do you say that the person is denying, but he was the one who was doing it? So that is where the user should not be able to deny, and non-repudiation should be enforced, in case they're doing a banking transaction or signing a contract or doing any kind of authorization. And that is what forms the backbone of the trust. So you need to have digital certificate-based enforcement coming in, or hybrid, which is PKI plus SOTP, which I'll talk about later, coming in to bring that value. So that means what this slide is trying to show you is that when you're looking at any system, you need to look at all these elements coming in. It's not like just about, oh, I have push notifications, so my job is done. So for example, companies like Okta and all that, they don't really care about non-repudiation. They don't care about audit trail in that context. They don't care about data security in that context. They don't care about onboarding, in that context. So there are a lot of things, I'm not, trying to talk bad about Okta, but I'm just trying to express to you that even if when you're looking at a solution, you need to look at totality, that what are they offering and how am I able to address my IA4N, which is, I would say the cybersecurity secret that we talk about. Then again, as I would like to emphasize that the future of anything has to be software. Software is smart. Software is upgradable. Software is easy to manage. It has got high velocity, high volume. So we are AxiomProtect is essentially a pure 100% software-based platform. So anything and everything that we have built, from microservices to powerful dashboard, which is web, mobile, native, either on a client or for the operators or for applications. Then obviously have a lot of complex from policies to settings to enforcements. Scalable performance. From small to a large quantity, big files to small files. Whichever way it is coming in through. And then obviously looking at SDKs as well as APIs, because SDKs and APIs help you integrate security the way you want to. Now, for example, you are making a new app, which is a fintech, and saying that, hey, I want to do customer onboarding with facial and voice and all that kind of stuff with handwritten signature. Oh, but by the way, I have to use something external as a separate app. Now, that kind of kills the whole experience. It breaks the security out of it. That means you are putting security separately, then actually embedding it. So we, with Axiom Protect philosophy, is that we build and give our SDKs and APIs so that you can integrate it inside your applications and benefit the maximum. And that is something which we have done it with 30 plus, large enterprises and BFSI customers to enjoy security inside their applications to give the best security, but more importantly, the best user experience or comfort. Now, this is a slide which kind of brings our learning from last 6 years together. So the first is embedded onboarding. So that's the starting point. Like, how do I get my customers onboarded? What is the process? What are the policies? What is the sign up that I'm going to have? Am I going to use the PII documents, like personal information documents? Am I going to use financial statement? Am I going to onboard with the OTP? Am I going to have their face being matched with their driving license? All these different kind of things come in when you especially look at high volume kind of rollout, and that is the fundamentals. And at that point, when you're doing onboarding, we actually enable the user or the customer with strong authentication or layered authentication or multi-factor authentication. So that gives you that profile of the user and take it forward. So what it would do is that once you have onboarded the customer, they will have OTP, SOTP, everything which is being given to them. And then they will also have a basic profile being issued. And then in that issued profile, you will have a passive authentication coming in. And then obviously, if there is some anomaly, there is some difference which is being found, that suddenly Vikram comes from Perth, but now suddenly he's coming from Hong Kong or he's coming from San Francisco, then there is something not right. His location has changed, his device has changed, so we need to ask him for either push notification or OTP or a voice call or Q&A, or show him an image that he recognizes, or that he has fed in. So all those kind of things come in. So, and it is continuous. That's the whole objective. So one of the most fundamental thing which I personally, as a founder of Bluebricks, and started with, 2 or 3, I would say, companies. So why I say 2 or 3? Because I think the third one is making. But other 2 which I've started earlier was that the biggest learning was that security was always an afterthought, where the compliance guy said, hey, by the way, what's the situation with security? I don't want to know your features. I want to know your security. And that's where it became a little bit more difficult, because you always say, oh shit, I got to put the security in. Now, one of the things which most of the companies do is that, they will say, okay, hey, I'll pick up the regulator, guideline, which obviously is lagging. I'll have, my developers essentially look at Google and Stack Overflow, come out with some, solution which matches the regulator, and then just try to build that in. And that guy, after 6 months, 1 year, or 2 years, leaves you, and then you have a system or a security which is being built, using some random code online, which is complying to something which is, for the past, not for the future. So that's typically what we have seen. Most of the companies are doing or think that they have control over security, but they don't realize that you need to look at security in future, not what has happened in past. You need to have something which is sustainable. Not even if one person leaves or two people leave, it does not matter. Your should have an evolving path, and that's where the product comes in. That's where security has to be, not an afterthought, but a before thought. So you need to look at your upgrading security from now. So obviously you have to analyze it and you have to execute it. So again, the questions like why, what, where, what's the risk, all these things come in. So what's the trend going forward? Not looking at the past, but looking at the trend. What's the need that I have today? What has changed? Has my customer changed? Has the customer's behavior changed? Has my systems changed? What has changed, and what is the choice that customers are looking for? Customer onboarding, multi-factor authentication 5 or 10 years back did not even make sense because we didn't have the baseline technology. We didn't have the take up of the phones. We didn't have COVID-19, hitting us. So the change has happened. The choice has been, manipulated or being asked by. When is it priority for me to do this because of the regulation I can't go through, or is it the budget cost? Like only that much money I have, so what do I do in that? And then obviously look at planning and more planning. Because with plan you can mitigate risk. With right product sitting, you can mitigate what exactly I need to do now, and then possibly have an option going forward. Making it more better or secure when you have more budget or when you have a better futuristic plan. 3 or 5 years down the line, not just 6 months. And then obviously you have to look at execute. Which is what we call it as enablement, technology enablement, or enabler levers, where you have to define what you want to do with that particular channel. Talking about users, single or multiple applications. Then you need to create your policies and rules around that, either to fulfill the regulatory compliance or looking at your own internal IT security compliance. And then you need to look at the applications that you want to integrate using our embedded SDKs or APIs or SSO or Radius, default, and whichever way want to move ahead with. And then obviously you need to start with onboarding your customers and learn and then see how it reacts and then evolve over time. So we highly suggest and recommend that look at a product, look at something which helps you to grow, and look at something which helps you to address all the questions like why, what, where, when, all these different kind of questions, and then also come out with a plan that can help you execute. So that's the kind of solution, or that's the kind of product you need to look at. And AxiomProtect is one of the similar products, we would like to propose. Now, everything is a life cycle. When we talk about payments, when we talk about security, when we talk about anything, there's onboarding, offboarding. And then this is the journey which happens for our customers. When I say our customers, meaning AxiomProtect customers, where you have to create them. Then you have to say, okay, how I want to commission this user, what kind of policies I want to enforce. Then I want to have onboarding. So it's going to be either remote, meaning they are at their place. Your agent is going to onboard them, or it's going to be self onboarding or in-person onboarding. What kind of score you want to put in there, so that okay, if the person has scored 85% plus, allow them. If it's less than 60%, then there has to be video call, and then so on and so forth. Then obviously once you have done that, you will have an authorization system or rule which will say, okay, hey, based on the rules or based on the human intervention, this person is being approved by looking at all the documents, all the captured information, and then going forward is say that what kind of risk profile you want to give in. Now, in essence, fundamentally, you always have to start saying that let me put this user as a high risk. Give them minimal access, give them least privilege, and then over time, once we learn and once they use the system or we look at the pattern that they're following, then from there we will say whether they become low risk or whether they stay in high risk. So that is something which essentially brings in through AI, through analytics coming in. So over time, you will have data being collected that will be coming from the usage part, and then you will be able to learn. So the engine itself will learn and then say, hey, this guy looks less risky, so we will bring them from high risk to low risk. And then obviously it will evolve, because with more usage you'll be able to understand the pattern or you will be able to do certain type of forecasting, like how is this user behaving, or how the set of users are behaving, how the segment or a region of users is behaving, and then from there you will say, okay, now let me take it forward. So that will again help you to evolve as offering, like, do I bring some new choice, do I bring frictionless, all these kind of decisions you can make and bring the user experience at a forefront, and have the security supporting it from the back. And then finally, what might happen that the user, might get decommissioned, and once you get decommissioned, that means everything should stop, and they should be actually, immediately let go, and so that all that multiple application access they have, that should be stopped, with a single click. So that is what comes in. So we talk about empowerment and enablement. So obviously, it's that has to be done. So if I have an application, there could be many applications. You need to say, okay, what will be my process of onboarding? What kind of identity verification through policy enforcement I will do? And at the same time, we will do multi-factor or high security enablement, which is happening in the background. Users don't have to know about it. So from their face to their voice to their handwritten signature, all these things, or their ID documents being OCR'd, all these things are going to happen, which will help you to say, okay, I have onboarded the customer, but at the same time, we have also given this person a stack of security hidden inside, so that in the future you can use different types of security when you need it. Now that is a huge, I would say, plus. I have seen a lot of different products. Most of the products do not consider onboarding and security, or MFA and SSO, all that together. But with the continuous security offered by Axiom, you are able to bring that value in. And then once you have done that on day-to-day basis, you will have what you have, who you are, where you are, plus factor, all these different kind of things, from your password to Q&A to location to handwritten to multiple applications to fingerprint, push notification, facial or voice, and different keys of multiple applications, consolidated as SSO. All these things are going to be done, and then obviously this will lead to the accounts and the audit part. And this will also be able to help you to give the roles and authorization, which you will control in the back end. And most importantly, you will be able to do insights and forecast, like what exactly is happening. And I think that is very, very important. And when you can cut across each application and each user, or you can look at a much broader way where you have multiple users for each application, using that, and see what the behavior pattern is, how the system is, working, and how many bad logins are happening, how many good are happening, who are doing them. All those kind of things are going to come in. Now, this is a deployment architecture. It's microservice based. So everything you see over here is Docker, obviously running on Kubernetes and other I would say microservice enablement or enablers. And what I would like to show with you is that this important part, which is your Axiom can support HSM for the master key storage or certificate storage or private key storage, which in turn, manages the security. So this security, that means the whole security over here, comes down to the master keys or sessions for each application, each channel. That comes out to be in the HSM card or a key store, the OS level key store. So, and then obviously there are a lot of other other features and modules that are coming in, from tokenization to mobile trust, from IntelliValue, that whole set of things, from facial biometrics, voice biometrics, text to speech, all those kind of things. And then you have the the MFA roles, authorization, policies, all that coming in. And then you have the licensing, billing, accounts, audit, all that coming in from there. So, and then in the front you have the the web layer, which is exposing you single sign-on, e-signing, digital signing. E-signing and digital signing are different. So Axiom supports both. Push notification, a lot of other APIs if you want to, embed it over here with, other, third-party applications and, systems, and obviously exposed it to your own applications, which will be exposed out. As we already mentioned, we have APIs as well as SDKs, which will help you to embed or enable internal and external applications. So in a couple of deployments, we have bank partners or bank merchants being given the SDK so that they can secure the data, all the files all the way from here and their applications all the way back into the core system or internal system. So that can be done because you have Axiom helping you with the SDK over here and then putting it over here. So one option was that you deploy actual VPN, but then the other option was that, hey, VPN is expensive. So can I give a software-based application level security or data security to roll it out? And then obviously you have operators, which will have, again, multi-factor coming in. And then you have the users who will come from any other place. And then the other side is where we talked about validate, e-signing, timestamping, and other services which comes under security. We can talk to RDMS, which is Oracle, MySQL, DB2, other databases through Java Hibernate. And then we have MongoDB for unstructured data that is coming from users being captured and then used. And then if needed, we go towards blockchain from Ethereum, and we have also can use Hyperledger, but these are the two blockchains where we can actually put the whole content of what was captured in onboarding and customer usage, or based on their consent, actually give it out to other applications. And then third parties, which would be from SMS, email, push notification, voice, C-Engine, which is certification authority, and then you obviously have risk, threat feeders, which is giving you threats like, okay, what exactly is going wrong, or which IPs are whitelisted, blacklisted, and things like that, and then we can use that in our own application. Now we have split the product into 3 different packages. So not everybody needs everything because it's quite overwhelming, but you will evolve starting small or starting with something that you need immediately, but then you will go forward and say, hey, can I solve more complex problems or more problems using the same product? Not just for one application, but for many applications. So we have split it into 3 different packages. One is essential, second is extended, and the third one is future. Now, I will not go into details of this because in the next 2-3 slides, you'll see, what it is. But if you really look at it, it gives you huge amount of features, or I would say security elements that you can use to build a very strong, authentication, authorization, non-repudiation, audit, accounting kind of framework for your applications. And that can use all different type of technology coming in, using SDKs, APIs, and all that. But in this essence, you will be able to manage everything and anything which comes under application security. Now, obviously, we have to go beyond passwords or password, because that's what most of the people do. Okay, I have password, but now can we do something more? So let's say this is Miss User, and she obviously has a smartphone, has her driving ID, passport, and identity with her, and she obviously has to get herself onboarding, and continuous security has to kick in. So firstly, you have policies, then you'll say self or assisted, and then you'll say what kind of documents, whether I need driving license, whether I need Medicare card, or I need social security card, or I need a veterans card or passport, things like that. And then whether I need financial a document, like I need an actual credit card picture, or ID with the photo of that yes, you have another bank's card, or you are an employee of another company, or whatever it is that it takes. And then you'll have whether the person is alive, so which could be either through the gestures, like eye blink, moving face up and down, or it's actually a video call where they have to speak and where they are, because sometimes when you want to issue a new account, let's say, or issue a new certificate, or issue a new policy, let's say a travel policy, you have to make sure that the person is present in a certain area or region, or be within the country. So that's where it comes in. Either regulators will demand that, or internally you might want to have it as a process. And then proof, like if the video call has happened, if the screenshot has to be taken between the operator and the user to take it ahead. And then if you want to make sure that the person is the right person, then you have to do a OTP or some kind of voice call on their phone, before they actually do the onboarding. Then validation has to be done either point-based system. So let's say if they have, let's say for example in Australia there is a 100-point system where you say, okay, if you have shown your passport or your driving license with photo, you get 70 points. If you have shown your Medicare card, you get extra 35 points. So in total, you have 105 points. So that point system comes in, plus whether the face matched, whether the OCR was proper, whether the location was correct, all these different kind of things come in. And then we have something very special over here, which is what we call it as leverage. Now, what it means is that in today's world, COVID, pre and post, if I want to validate a user, what is the best way for me to do that? The best way is ask the other bank or ask the other enterprise, and that's what we call it as reference check. Now, but if I want to do it digitally, what I can do is that I can initiate a $1 payment or $1 transfer to that person's credit card or to that person's bank account. Now, what will come back is success or failure, and also the name of the person, whether it was the same that they have entered in your application or your system or not. Now, what it does is that it's basically leveraging KYC part for another application, national, international, it doesn't matter, but you are able to leverage and establish what we call it as cascaded KYC approach that you are going to leverage and then bring it forward. So it's a very, very simple approach, but it brings so much value. And that is what, we are trying to show you, that we try to look at how evolved, or how easy we can give the solution, and yet keep it very simple. And then obviously on the other hand, you will create a profile, then you'll have the audit and accounts coming in, possibly you're going to build the user, based on usage, or you're going to, make it based on applications. And then you'll have alerts. So, after confirmation, send an alert to the operator saying, hey, operator, this person has done everything. Now let's have a video call, and, or send it to the user, application succeeded, rejected, all those kind of things. And then looking at data access. So all the data which is being captured, your face, OCR, video, all those kind of things which are happened, they will be watermarked. So that means they cannot be used or abused by anybody internal or external, either your appointed agent or your employees. And then it will also be encrypted and kept inside the server, either on-prem or over the cloud. And then you can use the same user, because the user is being created in the system for a single application or multiple applications. And then lastly, when you go towards it, you might have filters based on, area, region, and agents, like who onboarded, who offboarded, things like that, how many were success, how many were failed. And then also it will give you more insights, more specific for how your team or agents are performing, how many users they are performing, and then what is the forecast of me onboarding the customers and taking it ahead, And then obviously look at reports, because you might have some regulatory compliance, which you need. So if you want to onboard a user for insurance or for a bank loan, you have to capture certain documents and then submit it to the bank. So that kind of report gets generated from the system, so that you are not just able to handle yourself, but also the other components, not the components, other parties involved, either internal or external. So we are going much beyond password, and it brings a very holistic way of onboarding the user in a total paperless, in a total automated way. Now, initially I talked about similar but not same. Now, like humans, in my earlier example, we talked about it. So each application will have, similar requirement but not the same requirement. Now, I love these, 5 individuals. So we can consider them as 5 different applications, which need, which are similar because they are applications, but they have different needs, security needs. So, Mr. A says, hey, I have thousands of mobile users, web users. I want to onboard them. I want to have frictionless, risk-based authentication. Oh, by the way, I also have merchants who want to do B2B server encryption or security. I need user reports because I want to understand how they're using it, how good or bad the system is doing. And I also want to look at the behavior, insights, and I also want to look at a forecast of what's going to happen when the festive season comes and things like that. Then Miss B would say, hey, I am in charge of all the internal applications. I need MFA with single sign-on. It's some on web, some on mobile. So I have multiple applications, but it's going to be a single user, so connected to my Active Directory. Then I also have data tokenization because I am doing health application and I need the data to be tokenized instead of actual server to server data being exchanged. So if you look at new PCI DSS compliance or HIPAA compliance, they are highly promoting and asking companies to bring tokenization. So it looks like a very small feature, but it's extremely powerful when it comes to security. And data tokenization is one of the most amazing things that has happened when it especially comes to payments and data exchange. So obviously, Miss B knows about it, so she wants it. She wants to embed video with face and voice in her application. She wants to talk about data security on the mobile, and she also needs document parser because she has a couple of invoicing and POs and different type of documents coming in, and she wants an automation over there. Something similar, but not the same is Miss C wants, oh, I need VPN security, I need virtual desktop security, I need Wi-Fi security. I don't want to give hardware token, I want to bring software token, and then I want to sync it with my Active Directory. It has to be an onboarding done, automatically. Then it has to be, policy based, like who can open, where they can open from, and all these different kind of things. And then obviously it has to have radius because I don't want to change any application of mine. My VPN, my Wi-Fi, my VDIs, virtual desktops, they support radius. So I want you to bring that in as a default feature. Then Mr. D, he needs something very similar where he has an old application which was using hardware, so he wants to migrate them all over. Then he has data encryption because HTTPS is not secure, or he says, hey, it's not broken. So how do I do that? And then handwritten signature, PII, which is a personal information document, OCR. Then he wants to have user giving consent for sharing the application with other applications. Then he wants third-party applications to be supported through single sign-on, which are either your partners or your other applications. And then he also says, hey, I want a wallet because if I'm going to do away with hardware token, then I want to give them something more. So I want to give them SMS one-time password. I want to give them mobile push, and I also want to give them a digital certificate that they can import in their browser and things like that. Then obviously Mr. F has a different requirement where he has agents. He wants to onboard. He has digital certificate needs to be issued for each user because he's bringing the non-repudiation from day one. His focus is very much on e-signing documents and forms. Then he wants to redact the sensitive data when it gets collected because that's the compliance requirement. And then you have, application and user, certificate being issued. And lastly, he also needs HSM for the key storage. So what this slide really brings out is all these different applications are similar, but they are not the same. And this all is the real world scenario. And that is what we have learned over the last 6 years is that each application owner wants to have security their own way because they understand the customers, they understand the need, they understand the budget, they understand the risk. And then based on that, they want to come out with something that suits their system. And that is one of the key reasons why most of the old way of doing things was that each application will have their own island or isolated security or 2FA or MFA because each application or the MFA systems were not flexible enough to give the similarity kind of scenario, and they were pushing the same. Because it was pushed as same, most of the applications did not want that, so they wanted to keep it separate. That means your cost goes up, your SLA goes up, your work goes up, your talent retention has to be higher because you have more systems to manage. So overall, you are not able to have a better return of investment if you have islands of security or islands of security appliances. If you can consolidate and give multiple applications from a single server, That is where the true value comes out, and that is what Axiom gives very well. Now, let's look at Axiom's security stack. I think I've spoken a lot about, why, how, where, what's the need and all that stuff. So let's really look at what are the multiple features and the solid features which help us to achieve compliance and consolidate all different applications in different, in the same security platform. So to start off with, first, you need to manage applications. Then obviously you will have groups, either they are operators or users. Then you'll have fundamental policies which you want to enforce. A very simple requirement would be from push notification to SMS, you might be talking to a different gateway. So how do I bring those policies in? What kind of control I need to have in terms of settings? And then policies would be which user is allowed to use the system or not. Then most fundamental you would say is that, hey, I need something that can talk to my LDAP to sync all my users, or have an internal database where I can have my new users being created, and an external system I have, which is not an LDAP, but this is my core, system where I manage all my users. Like for example, in a bank, you might have your operators or users, internal users, employees coming from Active Directory, but you will have your retail users and your insurance users or CASA users, which is a current and saving account users coming from core banking, through APIs. So you should be able to manage that, as a whole. So that's what Axiom does very well. It has the ability to handle, database, LDAP, which can support Active Directory or other LDAP, compliant systems. And then you can also talk to, it has its own internal database, and then it can also talk to an external source. Then you go towards Q&A. Q&A is very important because it helps you to bring a lot of onboarding. So what we do is that when we do the scanning of the document, we automatically create a Q&A for the users. Like for example, what's your date of birth? Which city were you born? Can you tell me color of your, hair? Or can you tell me what is the last 3 digits of your passport? So all these things automatically get generated from your, onboarding. Where do you locate yourself? Things like that. So that in the future can help you with password reset, a support call initiation, all those kind of things that can happen, or a chatbot which can actually identify and validate you using that Q&A that was built across. And or it can also talk to LDAP and external source to get the the question banks and the answers for that specific user. Then next is dynamic images. Now what it means is that typically if you go to any website, what they do is that they will show you 5 or 7 images and then say, okay, you pick up one from here. Now imagine you are a hacker. You already know that these are the 5 or 7 images that you have to show because they are fixed. They are not personalized for the user. So what we do in Axiom is very different. We let the user at the time of onboarding pick the color and also pick the text. Now text could be anything that you can think of which is very personal to you or something very random. Let's say Tom Cruise, because now Tom Cruise with gray color, that fits quite fine. Or so that becomes my brown color Tom Cruise as my image. Now that is totally unique to anybody else in the world, and the hacker also cannot know that Vikram wants brown color or Vikram wants Tom Cruise, instead of showing me 5 or 7 images which are static. So the old way was showing images, but we just revamped the whole thing and then brought it out as a user's personalized, self-made image and color to be gotten. This is something which we have done for huge amount of customers. I think we have almost around, I think 3.7 or 4 million users, retail users, like, with the customers that we have, using our one-time password token. So either it is, so auth, time-based OTP is what is being used, which is having out-of-band SMS, email, voice, and then third-party hardware tokens or mobile software application. So Android and iOS tokens we have, which you can, which are white labeled for our clients or being embedded inside their application. Then the second set of, security, I would say stack features that we have is we support Google token. So a lot of clients says, hey, I want to use VPN. I don't want to use, SMS and all that. I want to use Google token. So we have done ample number of deployments where we use Google token as a way of user generating the OTP, and then use either complex password, OTP, or Q&A coming in and then taking it ahead. One of the most important one is Radius, which cuts across VPNs, a lot of IPS, IDS, because anything which supports Radius is supported by Axiom, because Axiom is a Radius server. It has an inbuilt Radius server, so any system which is a Radius client can use Axiom. And by the way, we also provide Radius clients also. So if you want to embed Radius client, a lightweight client into your application, then we can also give you a Radius client that can go into your into your IoT device, or into your mobile, or into your web, or application, or anything like that. So that gives a huge amount. It looks like a very small feature, but it's very, very powerful. You will cut across 60 to 70% of enterprise grade security appliances come with Radius client in build. So Axiom becomes Radius server. Next is geolocation. And geofencing is one of the most upcoming and prominent aspects. So you can actually, from macro to micro is what you can do. You can whitelist, blacklist, countries, states, regions, whatever you want. And then you can also look at the user's behavior, like where they're coming from when they're registered, and their typical, where they do the transactions from. So if there is any anomaly, then you can push from active to passive going in. And then again, the second important factor is your trust devices or trusted devices. So you can have single user, multiple devices, or you can have multiple devices, single user, it means the same, or you could have single device, multiple users. So we have these different combinations where you can tag what you want to allow, don't want to allow, and then take it forward through our SDK and APIs that gets called. Digital certificates. So you will have users, apps, a server, certificates being issued. You can configure what algorithm you want to use, and then from there you can actually bring it out and say, okay, fine, now let me share or let me generate the necessary certificate, and then you can issue the certificates onto the hardware tokens or software tokens. If you're using our SDK, then it will generate by itself and then take it forward. Next is push notification. The key advantage of using push notification over SMS is that the cost is zero. If you make a voice call or SMS push, there is a cost per message. But push notification is able to give you bi-directional message or duplex message with delivery confirmation, with reaction time, with larger data, with international reach at zero cost. So I'm not talking about the our licensing cost. I'm talking about the SMS gateway or push notification cost. So Apple, Google, can make a push on either on web or on mobile. So we go from there, and then that's how we take it ahead. Then the next one, which is one of the most important, especially in BFSI, is it's not just about authentication, but it's also about bringing authorization. So signature one-time password tokens bring authentication and authorization from a single source. So we have either hardware tokens. So there's a particular standard for that, which is called ORCA, which is Auth Challenge Response Algorithm. And that's what we support to bring either mobile-based security or signature one-time password or hardware tokens. So we do support third parties like Entrust, Vasco, OneSpan, RSA, which have those tokens, so you can use them. So for software tokens, hardware tokens, we can support any token. So we have certain deployments where clients had old systems. They wanted to do away with that, the server side, and they had their RSA and Vasco tokens which were auth compliant. So we imported them into Axiom and reused them for the old customers, and then slowly migrated them into the software. Then this slide is extending whatever we have done. So tokenization. Again, you can have a health or a payment or any application which needs concept of tokenization, where you do not want the third party to get access to your data or transfer of data. So I'll just take an example of PCI DSS. Now in PCI DSS, they have said that, or 3DS2, which is the new standard for Master Visa and EMB Co. where they have said that if the merchant is exchanging data, then merchant should not get access of the card and all that, or the card number, expiry date and all that, because that's where hackers will hack into the merchant and then steal away all the credit card details. Now, but when you bring tokenization in place, merchant does not store any information. So even if hacker hacks it, you don't get anything. You only get a token number, which can be removed if as soon as you come to know that, okay, hey, this merchant has been hacked. You can say, okay, all the tokens under this merchant or under this application are void, are being terminated, or are being forcefully expired, right? So the tokenization as a whole can be used in many different scenarios, and that's what Axiom has an inbuilt feature. Then PDF security. Now, when you talk about PDF security, PDF is wonderful because it works on any device, mobile as well as web. Does not matter which OS it is. It's portable format, and it has security inbuilt to it. So from digital signing to embedded e-signature or time stamping when it was signed, not just your computer's time but the server time. Then password protecting that document, and then also embedding QR code if you want. So PDF security for sending out statements, for sending out reports, for sending out sensitive documents, for building that non-repudiation between two parties, even issuing invoices or accepting orders. PDF signing is wonderful, and AxiomProtect has a inbuilt module for doing PDF security from password to timestamping to signing and embedding e-signs or QR code or whatever. Next is data security or data protection. Now, data protection fundamentally happens at endpoints. So we all consider HTTPS to be secure. But if you look at Singapore, they have said that, hey, I want anything new to have application level security and not rely on HTTPS. Because HTTPS gets broken either at a browser level or at ISP level or at a WAF level or at many other levels. And what if those systems get compromised? So you as an application owner need to take security into your own hands. Your application needs to encrypt the data and then push it all the way. So in the previous slide also I showed you that if a merchant has to secure a file or a mobile app has to encrypt certain data or encrypt token, or encrypt password, anything like that, and also sign it to have its integrity, then we have the solution which can fulfill that. So there is an SDK and APIs which are available for server to server, mobile to server, web to server, mobile to mobile, these kind of scenarios where data can be encrypted and decrypted. The next one is single sign-on. I think this is quite a popular term and I would say approach where you want to bring authentication and authorization consolidation for multiple applications into one set of user and give them access to the resources that you want. Now, Google, Facebook does that very well. Obviously, companies like Duo, Okta, even Microsoft Identity also is giving this out. Where we differentiate ourselves is that because you have this whole plethora of user profile from their identity to their PII to their statements to their pattern and all that stuff which is happening, we actually categorize them as in-house or inbuilt resources. So you can add your own resources and roles and everything, but those also become accessible and that you can share it with other parties, external or internal, and bring that in. So we support Oath for this, and SAML is the old way of doing it. And the SAML does not support mobile. So going forward, I think in the future, looking at the trend, Oath will be the one to do that. So we have. I personally feel we have got it right. It's a bit different than how Okta and Google are doing it, but the fundamental protocol is the same. But there are a lot of value adds that we have built on top. Then I'll quickly run through these three together. Now you will want facial biometrics. So once you have onboarded the customer, you have an attendance kind of scenario, or you have a student onboarding, or you have a document where the photo is there, you want to compare it with the user, they walk into your branch or your office, you want to know all these different kind of scenarios, you will need facial recognition and biometrics. So we have a engine, on-premise engine with 99+% accuracy. for extraction, registering, recognizing, authenticating, and relearning over time, because people change, over time, face change over time. So relearning and building it across. Something very similar for voice and something very similar for handwritten signature. I think we are the only company which has on-prem solution for handwritten signature also. So imagine that you are having a mobile workflow where the person is supposed to hand sign on the phone's canvas. Then what you do is that you capture it over there, but then how do you know that this is the same person, right? Now with Axiom's handwritten signature matching, you can actually achieve that. So that is not done till now by any other company. So you can go and check any other company. They do not have handwritten signature biometrics. That's what we have built. Next, again, going more towards AI. Again, this whole stack is coming from there. Risk-based authentication. So any and every transaction, log in, log out, wrong transaction, expired OTP, whatever it is that is happening, we look into all that. We look at anomaly from location to device to the trends and the pattern that the user have, and then based on that we build an anomaly finder which can actually tell you, hey, this user doesn't look right. We gotta have a different, we gotta have a check and ask the user that, hey, can you tell me, are you really you? So that's where it can kick in. And then we have Intelli OCR, which is intelligent extraction of OCR. Again, on-prem, contextual data extraction, like auto correction of date of birth, addresses, PIN codes. It extracts face, signature, MRZ from the passport, or any other kind of number. So you can actually have this. So if you have a new device, new document or new ID document that is coming in, or new statement that is coming in, you want to extract something very specific at a specific location, you can tell the engine that this is how you need to pick it up, and then the engine will be able to smartly extract it. So OCR has been there, but what Axiom does is that it brings it as a core feature. So you cannot just onboard the customers with their PII and statements and financial, POA kind of documents, but you can also build other set of documents that you want to process. So in one particular use case, we have done it for a bank which had checks being coming as a scan copy, and that's where the data extraction had to be done. That's where the handwritten signature had to be done. That's where the account number and branch number and all these things had to be done. Date had to be done. So we did using Intelli OCR. The next one is audio, video. It's basically, I would say it's an in-house Zoom or a team for you. Now, obviously, as a company, most enterprises are using either WebEx or Google Meets or Zoom or Microsoft Teams. Fantastic. We also use Google app and Google Meet as our way of internal communication, because we are on Google Apps. However, in certain scenarios, especially which is highly sensitive, our customers have asked us that, hey, I need something similar, but I need it fully controlled by me with much higher grade of security, with much higher grade of authentication and authorization coming in. So in Axiom, we have audio video, I would say, container that is running on WebRTC, and it has certificate-based security. It has multi-factor and specific user allowed only kind of scenario, and then that is available for web, and soon we're going to come out with mobile also. And over there you can record those calls, and this is also being used in the onboarding process where the operator and user, or the agent, gets onto a call and do that. So this can be used by you and your company for embedding audio, video, because of the compliance requirement, because of the data sensitivity environment, or because of the users themselves, what they're talking. You do not want to rely on any third-party cloud, but you want to have your own, so you can use audio, video inbuilt to that. Then Intelli Mask is another awesome offering under Axiom, where as an application, your job is to look at the sensitive data, which could be a card number or your user's name or your passport number and things like that. And then you tell the system that, okay, this is what I want to mask in this document. And then whenever the document's coming in, the system will, either it's going to be a scan or it's going to be a PDF. Then we will mask it, redact it essentially, and then return it back to you for storage. So we have done it for a very big bank with thousands of documents being redacted, using our APIs, and then give the value out to them. Then IntelliParser is again something which essentially looks at what to extract, and what to recognize, and then obviously what to authenticate in a way. Let's say if you have a third party to authenticate, then you authenticate and then extract all that data, from that parser, which is using AI, and then give it out. So over time it learns also and then give it out. So IntelliOCR, IntelliMask, IntelliParser, they all are bringing a lot of back office data or document data security into picture, which a lot of authentication platforms don't talk about it, because that's not what is to do with user. But we feel that as a authentication or a security platform, you have to have these elements because they are very much needed by the similar applications. Otherwise, they have to have other SDKs, other applications. So complication increases. So we are trying to reduce, and consolidate and give more value to our clients from the same platform. STT, which is speech to text on-prem extraction and analyzer. A very simple use case is that at the time of customer onboarding, you have asked the user that tell or narrate this whole passage, like I hereby declare, I am Vikram Sreen, director of so and so, I'm onboarding. Or you ask the user that, hey, can you please speak this random line? I am in Timbuktu and the random number is 57233. Now you obviously want to validate that whether the person what he has spoken is correct or not, because this will eliminate any kind of deep fake, any kind of show image kind of non-live kind of replay or video replay kind of attacks that can happen. So using STT, we have an on-prem system which can recognize almost 95% of English words, which is typically what is being thrown and shown, and then you can build that. And on top of that, you might have some old recordings of your conversations. You can actually give it to our engine, and then from there we can extract the text and give it back to you. So you can do a lot of back office, data scripting or transcripting also from there. Lastly is e-sign. Now our e-sign or digital sign is very different. So when we talk about PDF signing, it talks about digital signing being embedded inside the document. But e-sign is where you have electronic signature, where face, location, OTP, all those things are coming in, device, and then we are embedding it inside that, where you can either use face or voice or handwritten, and put it into the document or put it into the web form and bring it out. Again, great value, a fantastic way of doing it. Underlining is again for us is we call it hybrid. So it's e-sign and digital signing kind of embedded together. And now in the next release in from Q1 2021 is where we will have passive authentication and threat insights and also ROI insights coming in. So you'll have user behavior coupled with risk plus system policies, where you look at the user behavior and obviously with the overlay of risk and system policies will come in to actually say okay whether it's risky or not, and then that will be available made on the mobile as well as web and at a back end, and then that can help you to build more frictionless kind of approach. Then the next one is threat insights. Now there are distributed attacks, there is password spraying, all these bad things are happening out there. Now you want to build an engine which is able to feed from all these external servers and open source subscription and lists, and then you'll also have your internal applications which will be having local feed, and then you want to bring all this together and actually give it to Axiom and say, hey Axiom, this is what is happening out there, can you smartly and intelligently figure it out that what is happening, and then based on that block or allow certain things. So that ability is going to come into Axiom, where you will have threat insights being used for enforcing multi-factor coming in and being used. And then the next one is ROI, which is looking at the predictive performance of users and the applications, and then also planning, what could happen, and then obviously looking at the ROI chart over time, that what I've invested versus what I am spending versus how much cost saving I'm able to make out of this. So it's essentially trying to bring the monetized value. Typically, security is seen as a sunk cost. We are saying that even if you tweak it around and say that every user pays $1 per user per annum, just hypothetically, for example, then the more number of users will increase, the more billing or the revenue you'll collect from them, and then that might put yourself into a much a profit than actually considering it as loss. So these are the things which we are looking into so that we can give more value to our clients. Some real world examples. VPN to be fortified. I have an application which needs to be onboarded. I need voice biometrics to be brought in. I want a passive authentication, using my mobile based on location, device, orientation, inclination, all that kind of stuff. Then push notification, in case I'm doing transactions, or somebody's logging in, and things like that. Then SSO for multiple applications, and then obviously OCR and redacting, and there are many more, as I explained earlier. So few success stories. So one of the biggest banks in Cambodia, with almost 4.5 million customers, we have already, I think, 1.7 million people who are using our platform. It's running very smoothly for last, I think, 4 years. So it's everywhere. It's with VPN, remote access, mobile banking, internet banking, 3DS 1 and 2, being offered to fintechs, onboarding customers. So everything. It's being used very aggressively by the bank for multiple applications and multiple problems that they're able to solve. Then Alliance Bank, corporate banking, digital certificates, corporate maker role with mobile authorization token, retail banking, software token, embedded security, complete, AI4N being, implemented and brought in with non-repudiation. And then obviously we gave them something very unique, which was that they did not want it to have USB key, USB tokens, because USB tokens you can't come from iPad, and it's not supported. And that's one of the reasons why Fido is not able to move ahead, because of that when you want the UB key to be embedded inside, how do you do it? So that's why we said that pure software is able of doing it. And now coming back to Alliance, you have e-signing and a signature OTP, coming together to give the best non-repudiation. Then HDFC, again, OCR, PII documents, masking, end-to-end server security, facial matching, and then handwritten signature matching. And then Telecom Malaysia, one of the big telcos, which is using for customer onboarding, API billing, and management. So every API that you call for authentication gets billed, then access through the facial for their employees, and then also becoming a trust broker of identity. So once the user gets created, SME who wants to open an account, or let's say a small insurance company wants to open an account, then they just call TM and say, hey, TM, this is the phone number. Can you please give me the authorization to access the PII documents of this user? And then they return it back, and obviously there's a billing around it. These are few other customers from a lot of banks use that, from cars to general reinsurance by Warren Buffett to Miaset to Trustgate, which is one of our partners also now, white labeling. And then obviously we have Vatnak and Philip Bank from Singapore, and many others. So this kind of concludes my presentation, a bit long presentation on AxiomProtect, because it is a system that is quite huge. But if you really look at it, the core value is this, where you will have different applications which are similar but not the same, asking for security, asking for different types of security, because their need is different, their want is different, their budget is different, their compliance is different, their risk appetite is different, and that's what we need to address towards. So with that, I would like to thank you for listening this long presentation, and I hope that you can see the value of AxiomProtect and how AxiomProtect can give you the next level or the future readiness in terms of security. And we are still evolving. We are still working hard to bring more features in. And then as along we will bring more features in, we will be making it available to you, and you can enjoy them and fortify more of your applications and keep the bad guys out. Yeah. With that, I would like to say thank you so much for listening. And if you have any questions, please get in touch with us. We are at your service, and let's work together to fortify or bring more security and keep things safe. Yeah. Thank you, and bye bye.